ඔෆිස් එකේදී විතරක් නෙවෙයි මම දැන් ගෙදරදීත් IDD calls ගන්න SLT phone එකේ.
ඔබේ නිවසේ SLT දුරකථනය දැන් IDD පහසුකම සහිතයි.
Good evening, making headlines first at 9. No signs of abating. Heavy rains and floods leave over 40,000 people displaced and nearly 3,000 houses damaged. The death toll hits 11.
Water level of Galuganga may be increase that water level.
Where people need to pay a lot of attention, they need to be ready for the evacuation once we are alerting those communities.
Affecting the legislature. While military is ready in thousands for disaster response, the parliament heats up over rafts for relief. A common goal, the group of 16 SLFP members to work with the Flower Bud as the opposition. Mitigating influenza, all primary schools in 8 educational zones in the southern province closed until the 30th to curb the epidemic. Zuckerberg in Europe, Facebook chief appears before EU Parliament leaders.
The important thing is to get this right, and to make sure that we have regulatory frameworks that help protect people.
Good evening, bringing you the latest on First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Indiveri Amwatha. We begin with your top stories here at home. Inclement weather prevailing in over the country has left 11 people dead, with one incident being reported early in the day today. The latest report by the Disaster Management Centre says that 105,352 people in 18 districts have been affected by the inclement weather across the country. 40,491 people are in disaster relief centres as 2,876 houses remain damaged due to the weather.
With the onset of the southwest monsoon season, heavy falls of more than 150 millimetres were reported across many districts today. The latest report on island-wide water levels of major rivers issued by the Disaster Management Centre cautions that rivers of Kalani, Kalu, Ging, Nilwala and Attanagalu have burst their banks at certain locations. 18 districts are affected by the inclement weather situation prevailing in the country. Heavy rainfall caused subsidence of part of the old bridge located along the Kaduwela-Biyagama route today. One lane of the road had to be closed from the morning. Chairman of the Road Development Authority, N.R. Suryarachi, engaged in an observational tour at the location today. Expressing his views to media later, the chairman of the RDA insisted that there is no danger of an accident at the location and that the road can be open for public use tomorrow. Meanwhile, floods brought about with the river Kalani breaking its banks in Sedavatta receded following measures taken by residents. Floods in most low-lying areas, however, in Sedavatta are yet to recede. The rising water levels and the resulting overflow of the river Kalani also left dozens of houses inundated in Petiagoda. Minister of Sustainable Development, Wildlife and Regional Development, Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca, engaged in an observational tour in the area today. Meanwhile, Mayoress of Colombo, Rosie Senanayaka, also engaged in an observational tour in the area of Totalanga in Colombo, where hundreds are affected because of the inclement weather. In the meantime, many low-lying areas in the district of Kalutara, including the area of Kakulalia of Horana, were underwater today owing to heavy rains. A body of a person who went missing yesterday after he took off for fishing in floodwaters was recovered today. A 63-year-old fisherman died early this morning in the area of Kalpite in Putlam after being struck by lightning. Meanwhile, traffic police took measures to control the vehicular movement in the area of Madampe along the Chilau-Colombo main road as the road was inundated at several locations. A motorcyclist who refused to heed instructions given by the traffic police was seen being caught up in the water current. Officers of the Madampe police and several locals sprang to action immediately to save the motorcyclist. The central hills were also hit with heavy rains today. Early signs of landslides are noticed along the Ginigathena-Nawalapitiya main road. Other Derana's reporter on the ground said 52 places of business located near the Ginigathena police station are at risk of landslides. Meanwhile, 33 families living in a tea estate in Talawakale were removed to safety as their houses were damaged by a landslide. 54 families living at the base of a 2,000-foot mountain in the village of Tammatiya in Kotmale were identified to be at risk of rockfalls since a stream of water is flowing through the mountain. In the meantime, the disaster management meeting of Ratnapura was held today. Minister of Disaster Management Duminda Dissanayake also participated in the discussion. We distributed only half of the monetary compensation for the affected from the inclement weather last year. So once the flood waters recede, we will distribute the remaining compensation through the respective divisional secretariat. The Navy has also deployed 45 teams in the Ratnapura district for rescue operations. Navy teams also lent their support when a body had to be taken to a funeral in Mathugama. Meanwhile, 2 spill gates of the Rajangane reservoir was opened today owing to heavy rainfall.
In the meantime, red warnings for landslides were issued to 22 district secretariats in Ratnapura, Kegol, Nuwara, Kalutara and Galle districts from 4 this afternoon. The Army Media Unit said that 300 members of the Army, together with fellow sailors and airmen, are currently engaging in flood relief emergencies in worst affected districts of Galle, Kalutara, Mathara, Ratnapura and Putlam districts. About 25 boats of the Army have already been deployed in the most affected locations in Hiniduma, Palindanuara, Kamurupitiya, Ratnapura and Putlam, where some of the public roads remain inundated. Another contingent of about 1,000 Army personnel are also on standby in flood-affected areas in close contact with the Disaster Management Centre and respective district and divisional secretariats to face any emergencies. During a media briefing on the prevailing disaster situation, the Disaster Management Centre said that people around downstreams of Kalu River should remain on alert since its water levels could increase by tonight.
Relief Service Center already established 220 welfare center and also look after over 24,000 people. The water level of the Galaniganga now reduced from 18 meters to 12 meters, and also today within last 3 hours Ratnapura district received over 100 millimeters rainfall. Therefore, the water level of Galuganga may be increased that water level. And also already the Rajangana, Deduruoya, Murutavela gates are already opened. If people need any assistance, please contact this 117 our hotline.
Meteorological department, they have warned over possibility of heavy rain in western Sabaragamuwa and central and Waimba area. So people has to be very vigilant with that prevailing situation, especially in Ratnapura area. More than 100 millimeters of rain recorded in that particular areas. Other Ganga also having some kind of flood situations in Baddegam area and Nilwala Ganga as well. There is a flood situation in Attanagalwa also. So National Building and Research Organization that they have issued a warning over possibility of landslide in Ratnapura, Kegol, Nuwara, Kaluthara and Galle district. So today again that they have issued a red alert, people need to be moving, continued for a safer locations. If they have already moved, that they need to stay at particular safer locations until further notice by the technical agencies. There are spill gates being opened in Kukuleganga Reservoir, Udawalawa, Lakshapana, Apakotmale and Rajanganya also. So in Ratnapura district, 37 boats being deployed and 66 catamarans deployed. And Kaluthara district, 71 boats deployed and 102 catamarans deployed for the response activities. Military and police giving police cooperation to cope with that situations in 24-hour system, and Disaster Management Center, National Headquarters, that they are monitoring and maintaining all the functions of ground level situations as well as the national level coordination. So people are advised to not to use flood water and not to visit the flood areas, and they have to take all the precautions to minimize the damages of the lightning activities. Where people need to pay a lot of attention, they need to be ready for the evacuation once we are alerting those communities. And the health sector also been connected in 24-hour system, so we have informed all the vulnerable and affected areas to them to cope with that health problems.
In the meantime, we came across footage of the Ravana Falls in Alla. The incessant rains have given a boost to the falls, making it a vigorous body of water cascading down from the mountain. We urge members of the general public to refrain from attempting to go near to the falls due to the severity of the current. The prevailing inclement weather and relief efforts by the government were the main topics of discussion in Parliament today. We take a look at what both members from the government and the opposition had to say on the matter.
There is a prevailing disaster situation. Minister of Finance has allocated unlimited funds for relief purposes and necessary items such as food and housing. Just like the confirmed dawn of Vesak and Poson Poe days, there is a flood disaster situation in May and June each year. And each year, certain divisions in the Ratnapura district get inundated. But not even a boat is provided for those areas ahead of a disaster. This will be a problem when a major landslide occurs in these areas. We have been asking for rafts since last year and we still haven't got them. We won't be able to feed the hungry and affected people there if you don't provide these rafts. There's no point in blabbering about monetary allocations. 66 rafts are deployed in the Ratnapura district.
අඟුල් 66ක් මදි. තව අඟුල් 100 ගානක් කොට.
ඉන්නේ මේ කියනක ඉන්නේද? තව අඟුල් 26ක අවශ්‍යතාවය අද ගරු ඇමතුමා ගියාම සඳහන් කරලා තියෙනවා.
වැරදි. අඟුල් 102ක්.
ඔත මම මේ වගකීමෙන් කියන්නේ ගරු
මමත් වගකීමෙන් කියන්නේ.
අඩුම තරමේ
When we log into the website of the Ministry of Disaster Management, it still says that the subject minister is Anura Priyadarshana Yapa. Your name is not even there on the website.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඔබතුමා තාම නැහැ. දුරකථනයේ වැඩ කර.
There is no point in having my name there when the email and the fax numbers are working properly.
The Ministry of Education of the Southern Province announced that primary schools and primary sections from grade 1 to 5 in Deniaya, Udugama, Mathara, Mulatiyana, Akurassa, Tangol, Valasmulla and Galle educational zones will remain closed until the 28th to prevent the spread of a viral flu. These schools will reopen on the 30th of May. A viral flu is spreading across the southern province, and as a result, a large number of patients, mostly infants and children, have been admitted to the Karapitia Teaching Hospital. The flu has caused 15 deaths, including an infant, so far within this month, with a large number of patients still receiving treatment at the hospital. Moving on, President Maithripala Sirisena says that he is informed of various instances of splendid student-teacher relations as well as abuse and injustices children have suffered at the hands of teachers. The head of state expressed these views today while attending a ceremony organized by the Wyoming National College of Education in Bingiria.
There are reports of injustices done to school children. Just as I did, all 3 children of mine studied at schools in Polonnaruwa. There was a general election in 2001. I was a minister back then, but the party I was representing lost the election. As a result, my children were unable to study where I schooled. It was not students but teachers who said hurtful things. I never had any intention of bringing my children to Colombo. But after I worked as a minister for 6-7 years and had to be in the opposition, I had to enter my children to schools in Colombo. Parliamentarians who come from rural villages enroll their children in schools in Colombo within their first month in Parliament. I am not boasting, but I am the only parliamentarian who did the other way around. I haven't heard of any other parliamentarian doing what I did.
And the joint opposition today brushed off the notion of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa taking up the challenge for a debate with Minister Mangala Samaravira. They say that it is unnecessary for a leader like the former president, who united and developed the country, to engage in a debate with a redundant government.
Malik Samaravikrama says that this country received most of its investments under this government. I asked in Parliament yesterday to list all the details about the investments, including the companies. He wasn't able to present them to Parliament in detail. All the investments came before 2014 during the Mahinda Rajapaksa era. When their money comes through now, the government says that they are investments brought by them. The biggest fear the government harbours at present is the fear of Gotabaya. Mangala Samaravira challenges Mahinda Rajapaksa to come for a debate on the Ministry of Finance. What is to be debated on the Ministry of Finance, since there is no Ministry of Finance in this country? If there was to be such a debate, it is Arjuna Mahendran who should come for it and not Mangala Samaravira. There is no use of debating decisions taken by Mahendran with Mangala Samaravira. Mahinda Rajapaksa is the national leader who built up the economy of this country. We don't let such a respectful leader go for a debate with a redundant government. Therefore, we are ready for a debate on the economy with anyone.
Parliamentarian Vasudeva Nanayakkara today reacted to the statement made by leader of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, where he said, as the executive president, Mahinda Rajapaksa didn't make a contribution towards bringing the war to a conclusion. Speaking at a media briefing held in Colombo today, he said that the statement made by the parliamentarian is a mere attempt to consolidate their backing towards the abolishment of the executive presidency.
When Mahinda Rajapaksa won in 2005, he gave money to the LTTE. With the executive power, the war was exploited. He didn't end the war. A civil war can end at any time with one party winning while the other loses. What happened was that when the war came to its conclusion, Mahinda Rajapaksa happened to be the leader of the country. That's it. There were 5 executive presidents during the war. Why couldn't the rest of the 4 win it? If the executive power had an impact on the war, the other 4 should have won it. When a conflict reaches a certain threshold, it spells its end. It cannot be called a superpower of the executive. Saying brotherly relations made winning the war easy is baseless. Making nonsensical comments on an incident of significance in history only depicts the man's foolishness. It is like saying that King Dutugamunu didn't win the war but just happened to be the king when the war was nearing its conclusion. It is both locally and internationally accepted that the leadership of Mahinda Rajapaksa brought about the victory in the war, and it is not even debated. What they're trying to do by making such comments is to consolidate their stance on the executive presidency.
Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna and members of the group of 16 SLFP members who vacated their positions in the unity government recently had come to an agreement to work together as the opposition. The decision was made during a special discussion between former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and members of the group of 16 this evening. A discussion between members of the group of 16 SLFPers who vacated their positions in the unity government recently and the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa was held at the former President's residence in Colombo today. Several parliamentarians who participated in these discussions later expressed views to media.
The discussion we had with former President Mahinda Rajapaksa was quite successful. We came to an agreement with him to work together as the opposition. Except parliamentarian Anura Priyadarshana Yapa, who is abroad, 15 of us who left ministerial positions participated in the meeting. We had cordial discussions with the former president regarding political changes in recent times, current political situation, and also about how we should work together as an opposition against the government's anti-public policies. So we came to an agreement that we should work together as the opposition with the added strength of the group of 16. The Flower Bud Party is a large coalition, just like the UPFA. We will work with the opposition targeting the upcoming presidential election.
A Maldivian national was arrested while in possession of over 2 kilograms of heroin at the departure terminal of the Bandar Naika International Airport yesterday. The stash is valued in excess of 24 million rupees, and it has been revealed that the suspect had made 15 trips between the Maldives and Sri Lanka since year 2016. And we take a look at a few other stories making news across Sri Lanka in brief.
Deputy Minister of Wildlife Palitha Tewarapperuma says a decision was made to relocate the 2 remaining wild elephants at the Singharaja Reserve to the Horopatan Elephant Detention Centre. The move comes after an 84-year-old was attacked by one of only 2 elephants in the area of Putupiti in Rambuka, located adjacent to the reserve. A motorbike collided with a bus in the area of Migaswava along the Ippavala Talawa main road during the early hours today. The accident left the motorcyclist dead on the spot. CCTV caught footage of a cook being kidnapped from an eatery located along the lake road of Borlaskamua. The owner of the establishment immediately contacted the police, which led to the arrest of the 4 kidnappers from the area of Pillava. A story of a shop owner guilting a 13-year-old boy to use a knife on his own hand, accusing the boy of a theft, is reported from Badulla. The shop owner had told the boy that if he didn't commit a theft, he should cut his hand with a knife. The boy is currently receiving treatment at the Badulla hospital. The roof of the main hall at the Kumaradasa Mahavidyalaya in Vellavaya of Monragala collapsed just before the school started this morning. Our correspondent said the principal of the school had informed the Zonal Education Office several times of the need to repair the roof.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
In business news tonight, the Professionals National Front charges that the free trade agreement Sri Lanka inked with Singapore is in fact heavy towards Singapore, as their nationals get a multitude of benefits from the agreement. They made the remark while addressing a media briefing convened to elaborate on the negative impacts on the Sri Lanka-Singapore free trade agreement inked recently.
Through this free trade agreement, a lot of tax concessions are given to businesses and businessmen. By removing tax concessions for locals and giving tax concessions for Singapore nationals, the local businesses collapse. The professionals and intellectuals who leave national education institutes will find it difficult to engage in their businesses. We press the government not to implement this agreement now. What could not be achieved with the EDCA was achieved through this agreement. Please go for a public referendum before implementing this. Hold discussions on EDCA agreement because amid so much of pressure, they have commenced discussion on this agreement. We will go and we will engage in a protest march.
And Chevron Lubricants Lanka PLC's long-standing managing director and chief executive officer Kishu Gomez has stepped down from his position with immediate effect. In a stock exchange filing, the company said that Rochna Kaul will be replacing Gomez in an acting capacity. Although the company gave no reason in its announcement on the development, when contacted, Kishu Gomez told First at 9 that he intends to create more value for the country instead of serving at a multinational firm. He added that he will continue to be in the corporate sector and continue to champion causes that he has been engaged with in the past.
Kishu Gomez has worked at 2 multinational companies over the past 3 decades. He joined Chevron Lubricants Lanka plc 22 years ago and has executed duties as its managing director for the past 18 years. The company said in a stock market filing today that Kishu Gomez's resignation is effective from yesterday, the 22nd of May.
So I'm very pleased, and I have been with Chevron for 22 years, of which 18 and a half years as CEO of the company. I've made a mark, and having worked for US multinationals for 33 years, I thought that I should move on and put the rest of my journey on a different path to be able to create more value for the country, working for a company that can create more value. But whilst working for one company, I would want to sit on other boards to be able to make a contribution to the country's economic growth through other industries and other business organizations. And as a multinational, you won't get the approval to sit on other boards. So it's a decision that I took with a lot of thought and have a vision now. That vision is get into an area, get into a business, get into an industry where I can make a greater positive impact on the lives of poor Sri Lankans.
Chevron Lubricants went on to say that current chairperson Roshna Kaul will act as the CEO and managing director.
Sri Lankan shares slipped to a more than 1-week closing low today, dragged by industrials such as market heavyweight John Keel's Holdings. The all-share price index ended 0.1% weaker at 6,465.48, its lowest close since the 15th of May today. In the meantime, the market turnover was 250 million rupees. Moving on to the currency market, the Sri Lankan rupee ended marginally firmer today on late exporter dollar conversions, but traders expect the currency to be under pressure from a possible slump in the country's top agriculture export, tea, due to heavy rains. The spot rupee ended 157.90 compared to yesterday's close of 158.10. Here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day.
Watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
On to international news. Facebook chief executive Mark Zuckerberg told the European Union yesterday that regulation was important and inevitable. Meeting the leaders of the European Parliament, Zuckerberg said the question was not whether there should be regulation, but what kind of regulation there should be in response to questions about whether Facebook ought to be broken up.
I don't think the question here is whether or not there should be regulation. I think the question is what is the right regulation. Some sort of regulation is important and inevitable, and the important thing is to get this right, and to make sure that we have regulatory frameworks that help protect people, that are flexible so that they allow for innovation, that don't inadvertently prevent new technologies like AI from being able to develop.
He also said Facebook would be compliant by the 25th of May with the new General Data Protection Regulation, which requires firms doing business in the EU's 28 member states to provide personal data in an understandable form for free and carries stiff fines of up to 4% of the company's annual turnover if it fails to comply. But his testimony did not please all members of the European Parliament, with some feeling that Zuckerberg had dodged their questions. Chair of the UK Parliament's Digital, Culture, Media and Sports Committee, Damien Collins, said that the format of questioning allowed Zuckerberg to cherry-pick his responses and not respond to each individual point.
Will you allow users to escape targeted advertising? I mean, I asked you 6 yes and no questions. I got not a single answer. Yeah. And of course, well, you asked for this format, well, for a reason.
I'll make sure we follow up and get you answers to those.
The world may have to wait for the historic meeting between the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Speaking to reporters at the White House yesterday, together with visiting President of South Korea, Moon Jae-in, Trump said that the meeting may not work out on the 12th of next month. He, however, added that the meeting between the two leaders will happen at another time.
US President Donald Trump has said that there is a very substantial chance a historic summit between North Korea's Kim Jong-un next month may not happen. He said the North must meet conditions for the summit to go ahead, though if it did not, it might happen later. Trump was speaking as he received South Korea's President Moon Jae-in at the White House. The North says it may cancel the summit if the US insists on it giving up nuclear weapons unilaterally. Trump did not say what conditions the US had set for the summit, but asked by a reporter about the North's arsenal, he said, denuclearization must take place. The message released by South Korea's President Moon Jae-in on the same day, however, was contrary to that of Trump, saying that he will make every effort to help bring about the summit as scheduled and contribute to permanent peace on the Korean peninsula. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo also said that the United States is still preparing for the summit and will take all measures to make it successful.
In your sports news tonight, South Africa's iconic cricketer AB de Villiers today abruptly announced his retirement from all forms of international cricket. The 34-year-old batsman is a superb athlete in all senses of the word and still holds various provincial and national records in other sports, including tennis and swimming.
Hi, this is the Tuks Cricket Club at the High Performance Centre in Pretoria, where 14 seasons ago I arrived as a nervous youngster when I was first called into the Proteas squad. Today, at the same place, I want to let you know that I've decided to retire from all international cricket with immediate effect. After 114 test matches, 228 one-day internationals and 78 T20 internationals, it is time for others to take over. I've had my turn, and to be honest, I'm tired. This is a tough decision. I thought long and hard about it, and I'd like to retire while still playing decent cricket. It would not be right for me to pick and choose where and when and in what format I play for the Proteas. For me, in green and gold, it must be everything or nothing. It's not about earning more somewhere else. It's about running out of gas and feeling that it's time to move on. Everything comes to an end.
We take a look at the weather update for the next 24 hours.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. The onset of the southwest monsoon will continue to bring turbulent weather to the island in the coming week. There, however, is a silver lining as people will feel a respite from high temperatures, especially in the areas with downpours. People in the Batticaloa district will experience the highest expected temperature of 31 degrees Celsius. Moving on to your rain forecast now, we can expect thunder showers right across Sri Lanka over the next 24 hours with heavy falls of 100 to 150 millimeters. People along the coastal belt from Mannar to Galle will have to brace themselves for continuous showers throughout tomorrow. That's it from your weather center tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
And that's all we have on First at 9 tonight. But before we go, as usual, we'd like to leave you with some video footage. And tonight we take you to Kalmune, situated in the Ampara district, disrupted by a 30-year-long conflict that existed in the country. The town today is reviving through a livelihood around tourism and fishing. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
Bringing you The news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.